Okay, let's jump right into this explainer of the source material and uncover the incredible hidden science hiding inside your everyday vegetables. I mean, we hear the word fiber thrown around a lot, right? And it usually comes with some pretty dry, boring advice about digestion. But what if I told you that fiber is secretly pulling the strings on your mood, your brain health, and your body's most complex biological networks? Today, we're going way beyond the basics. We're going to decode the chemistry of your food and look at how what you eat literally alters your brain chemistry.
So let me ask you a question that might sound, well, a little ridiculous at first. Can the slime in your vegetables actually make you happier? Think about chopping up bindi, okra. If you've ever prepped it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You get this incredibly gooey, sticky, super polarizing slime. Honestly, a lot of people absolutely hate it. Inexperienced cooks will try to fry it into oblivion just to get rid of that texture. But what you're looking at isn't just vegetable juice. It actually holds a really surprising mystery about how it interacts with the human brain. And science actually validates that exact gooey texture. That gross vegetable slime is a substance called mucilage. It's made up of complex molecules called polysaccharides and glycoproteins. But in plain English, it's an incredibly powerful form of soluble dietary fiber. And here's the kicker. When you eat it, your small intestine actually can't absorb it at all. We humans simply don't have the biological equipment to digest it and break it down for calories.
Now, to understand why that's a literal superpower, we have to look at the carbohydrate spectrum. You probably already know about simple sugars and complex starches sitting at the top of the chain. But the real magic happens all the way at the bottom, with entirely non-digestible carbs, specifically dietary fiber. The most vital takeaway from this explainer isn't about memorizing the spectrum, though. It's realizing that we get absolutely 0 calories from this fiber. 0. Because we can't digest it, it travels right through us, completely intact.
This brilliantly illustrates the two totally different ways that intact fiber behaves inside you. On one hand, we have insoluble fiber, which is kind of like the tough skin of an apple. It simply adds bulk, speeds up transit time, and helps you out in the bathroom. It's basically the sweeper. But soluble fiber, like that bindi mucilage we talked about, behaves entirely differently. Inside your gut, it absorbs water and forms this thick, gel-like mesh. This sticky mesh physically coats your intestine and actually slows down the absorption of glucose into your bloodstream. It literally shields you from those massive blood sugar spikes that lead to insulin resistance. How cool is that?
But the magic doesn't stop at blood sugar control. Because remember, your body can't digest soluble fiber. But you aren't the only living thing inside your digestive tract. Down in your large intestine, you host trillions, yes, trillions with a T, of microscopic gut bacteria. And as our source material so perfectly puts it, this undigested soluble fiber arrives as a rich buffet dinner for your gut bacteria. You are quite literally feeding an entire ecosystem that lives inside of you.
And providing that feast triggers a flawless biological chain reaction. First, you consume the fiber. Once it reaches your colon, your gut bacteria eagerly feast on it through a process called fermentation. As they digest this buffet, these bacteria produce vital byproducts called short-chain fatty acids, specifically one called butyrate. And here is where it gets crazy. Through the gut-brain connection, these exact fatty acids actively encourage the production of serotonin. Yep, the famous happiness hormone.
So the crucial point here is that feeding your microscopic gut biome literally decreases anxiety and boosts your mood. This isn't some pseudoscience trend, it's deep biochemistry. That short-chain fatty acid butyrate doesn't just hang out in your gut doing nothing, it communicates directly with your brain, actively preventing neuroinflammation. And by keeping that brain inflammation down, butyrate plays a massive documented role in reducing symptoms of depression and anxiety. Your mood is chemically tied to the fiber in your vegetables. Let that sink in.
Now, on top of fixing your mood, fiber serves as the absolute ultimate biological hack for everyday diet struggles. If you find yourself constantly hungry or overeating, fiber is for sure your best friend. Why? Because it physically adds bulk to your meals without adding a single calorie. That volume physically stretches the walls of your stomach, which activates these things called stretch receptors. Those receptors send an immediate signal to your brain screaming, "Hey, we're full." Plus, it slows down the rate at which your stomach empties. It's basically a built-in volume control for your appetite.
Okay, so the science is undeniably cool. But how do we actually apply this, right? How can you easily hack your diet to get more of this biological superpower starting literally today? Let's translate this biochemistry directly onto your dinner plate. The good news? You don't need expensive, overly processed supplements. The The solutions are probably sitting right in your kitchen right now.
Let's run through some basic everyday foods packed with oligosaccharides and soluble fiber to easily upgrade your diet. First up, legumes and dals. Whole, unpolished dals are fantastic sources of both soluble and insoluble fiber. Next, pretty much any leafy green or non-starchy vegetable. For fruits, try to reach for the less sweet ones. Think guavas or raw bananas rather than those super sugary tropical fruits. And here's a really fun one: raw onions soaked in diluted vinegar or lime juice. Onions are completely packed with inulin, which is a brilliant prebiotic fiber, and the vinegar makes them a delicious, gut-friendly condiment.
Oh, and I absolutely have to highlight this surprising, mind-blowing trick from the source material. You might have heard scaremongers say you should never eat leftover rice. Well, science actually says the exact opposite. If you cook rice or potatoes and then let them cool overnight in the fridge, the molecular structure of the starch actually changes. It retrogrades and transforms into something called resistant starch. Suddenly, your body can't digest it easily, which means it doesn't spike your blood sugar. Instead, it travels straight to your large intestine to feed your gut bacteria. That is a real game changer.
Now, for those of you wanting to level up a bit, here are some advanced options that bring even more to the microscopic buffet. Blueberries are totally packed with soluble fiber and antioxidants. Chia and flax seeds, along with walnuts and almonds, offer an incredible trifecta of fiber, protein, and healthy fats. And you might want to consider swapping out standard polished white rice and wheat for whole millets or brown rice just a few times a week. Millets, in particular, have this unique fiber matrix that slows digestion beautifully.
Now, as enthusiastic as I am about all of this, we do need to briefly separate fact from internet fiction. The internet loves to say that if something is good, more of it must be flawless. But that's a total myth. The reality is, moderation is absolutely key here. Ramping up your fiber intake too fast or eating massive unlimited amounts will cause severe bloating, gas, and some major digestive discomfort. Also, eating absurd amounts of certain raw leafy greens can actually increase your risk for kidney stones due to oxalates. So yeah, balance really is everything.
I want to wrap up this explainer with a thought straight from our source material. The internet is filled with magical cures. The only thing that works is to eat less food. And fiber helps you do exactly that. It regulates your blood sugar, it physically prevents you from overeating, and it feeds an army of bacteria that produce chemicals to actually make you happy. It is the ultimate, evidence-based tool for your overall health. So the next time you open your fridge, I want you to ask yourself, are you just feeding your stomach, or are you feeding the microscopic army that controls your mind?